Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Total Spotfest Wrestling Podcast. Coming to you from the Omni in Atlanta, I, of course, am your host, Gorilla Monsoon, along with the esteemed Bobby Heenan and our guest host for the night, Jesse the Body Ventura. Gentlemen, we have had a lot of wrestling going on, and we are going to talk all about it. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for coming in this evening. Thank you for those of you listening to us on the replay. If you're listening to us on the replay, please check this YouTube thing that they have out here. I believe it's youtube.com/the @ symbol Total Spotfest. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Something on the internet. But we do want to welcome you all for a very special edition of the podcast. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? Are you ready for some top-notch professional wrestling?
I'll default to the brain on this one.
Well, I appreciate that. As everybody knows, I am incredibly intelligent, and this show is going to have some high spots, but then, we are going to talk about some filthy lowlife people. That's just going to be something that happens. People who say money can't buy them happiness, and that's not true. Because you know what? Give me $50. See how happy I am.
Oh, Lord, Braid. Oh. Well, Bobby, I'm glad you are with us this evening here to shed some act of civility into the announcer's booth.
Gorilla, I call it like I see it. And I'm going to call it right down the middle. I actually had been contemplating all day whether or not I'm going to do the Jesse Ventura voice for the entire episode. But it's not particularly great, and I feel like I don't know if I can keep that up for the solid hour and a half, 2 hours we end up going. But very excited for our Halloween spectacular, bringing to y'all the greatest commentators in pro wrestling history.
And a big hello to Big Rob in the chat, as they say there. Welcome in, Big Rob. We appreciate you joining us this evening. All right, I'm going to do enough of that. All right, so.
It's hard to keep up. You got to,
You be committed like me.
And here's the thing, too. It's like, and Brain will tell you this. I am not good at accents or, voices or imitations and stuff. I am not good. I could do, maybe 2 or 3 decent, and they're just totally random. So. It is what it is. That's why I misunderstood the assignment naturally, and for the second straight year, am muffling my voice on the internet. Yay!
Well, there it goes. Monsoon, I know something about voices and acting. If you didn't know, I was in Predator and Running Man with Arnold. In Running Man, he did all the running. I was the man.
That's right, Jesse. That is absolutely right. And if there's one thing, especially on the show, I'm committed to the bit. Some would say I'm a legend at it. Just ask me. I'll tell you.
Well, quick little side note here. I do want to make a quick mention because we are coming to you live on the 30th of November, and upcoming this week is, of course, Election Day. A lot of places you can vote early, but if you haven't already, make sure to get out there next Tuesday, cast your vote. I don't care who the hell you vote for. To be completely honest, whichever you want. Red, blue, doesn't matter. Just make your voice heard. Get out there and vote. It is important. So please, don't forget, before you see us again, get out there and vote next week, guys.
Speaking of that, I don't know. We deal with a lot of wrestling fans around here, right? Right, Jesse?
We certainly do, Brain.
There's just, speaking of wrestling fans, because they're gonna have to do stuff. There's 2 things that scare me about wrestling fans. One, they're allowed to vote. The other is they're allowed to reproduce.
I'm not scared of wrestling fans voting. I was a former governor of Minnesota. Did you know that? They voted me in. I was an independent. I wasn't a Democrat or a Republican. I stood for the people. I tell it how it is.
I wouldn't vote for you. But I don't live in a subpar state like Minnesota.
Are you allowed to vote, Heenan? I thought you were a convicted felon.
I got my ways.
Moving right along.
You ever heard of Russia?
Oh, Jesus.
course, I've heard of Russia. I was on Russia TV America News because they wouldn't let me tell the truth in the United States. There's no way I'm going to keep that up this entire time. I'm going to try to hit it.
I was wondering, like how much is
like, yeah, no.
How long is he going to go? How deep is he going to go with this? All right, so, but yes, we are glad. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Yes, this is our annual Halloween special, but we're going to talk wrestling. We got an early trick or treat last night. Bobby and I did, that is, with St. Louis Anarchy, Journey Pro's send-off show, sort of, but Journey to Anarchy here on a Tuesday night, I know, but at the old Kansas Hall, Guitars and Cadillacs here in Overland Park, Kansas. A good night of midweek wrestling, Jamie, and it was actually a really good show.
I love the show. The crowd was definitely a different kind of crowd, which, you know what? I did like that as well, because typically, wrestling fans, we have a certain stigma, and we have a certain way of doing things, and this one definitely had a different vibe to it, but it was a fun vibe. It wasn't like oh, I don't know what to do. Like, everybody was in it. Like, there's a couple matches where everybody just went nuts. Like, it was just one of those things. For me personally, I got to yell at Jeremy Wyatt, Lion Tamer again, and it felt right. I felt at home. It just felt perfect.
Your daughter went with us as well. Your daughter, who's in college, a freshman in college right now, and so she's seen you at some Found City shows and some stuff, but this was really our element, because this was Jamie and JJ would both tell you if they were here. It is their favorite kind of experience of local wrestling here in Kansas City. So,
for sure, we love a good bar.
And wrestling needs to be in places that sell alcohol.
Yes.
100%.
If you elect me president in 2024, that's the first thing I would sign on day one. All pro wrestling must be in front of a bar somewhere.
Alcohol must be present at all times.
The 69th Amendment. Okay, I don't know where I'm going with that. But they did announce that Anarchy, so St. Louis Anarchy, it was a St. Louis Anarchy show, really, But they will be coming back to Kansas Hall in the future. Guitars and Cadillacs in the future. And it was announced today as well, Chase from Found City Pro had plenty of talks. He was actually integral part. He lent them their ring, so they have to carry their ring across the state, which is a very good. Hey, wrestling promotions getting along. How about that, right? Beautiful thing. But Found City Pro is going to be operating some shows at Guitars and Cadillacs next year. They're still going to have some shows at the Ball Event Center, but there's going to be some shows at the Guitars and Cadillacs as well, and that's even better. So,
love a good bar show.
Yeah, so you might even get to partake in participate in some of those, Jesse. Who knows?
I can't wait. I've heard a lot about that building, and I encourage everyone to get out and enjoy some pro wrestling before WWE kills the indies, is what the internet's telling me is going to happen.
I mean, they are just okay. So I saw a fantastic.
Are you buying that? Are you buying the okay? So
no,
again, the wrestling fans, the internet.
That.
Okay, we're just gonna get right into it because this internet wrestling community sometimes just chaps my ass, just because they're just like, oh, because WWE is going to be like linked or whatever to different academies across the United States. Like, it's gonna kill the indies. No, it's not. Like, I don't see it that way whatsoever. Jesus Christ. I don't.
There's storms moving through, y'all. So hopefully we have power still.
I don't see what WWE doing is a bad thing or a good thing. I just see it as a thing. That's my opinion.
You see, Brain, it chaps your ass because these people, they go on Twitter and they just tweet, and that's lazy. You're a real broadcast journalist.
That's right. Comes from the heart, face to face, via camera.
Every few years, something's going to kill the indies. TNA is going to kill the indies. AEW is going to kill the indies. Now, WWE is on a mission to kill the... No. I don't think you're ever going to kill the indies. It's impossible because you have too many bodies and not enough places for them to go. So, It's you're never going to kill the indies. I think that what they've been doing has been a better focus on those type of wrestlers, though, and I do appreciate that. The whole end of the McMahon era, the edict about we're not getting wrestlers, we're getting entertainers and learning them how to wrestle. I think that was all, the wrong move to go. So I enjoy what they're doing with, especially when you look at NXT, which we'll talk about here in a second. Really bringing in entertaining people, but a lot of wrestlers, a lot of people who have roots in the indies again. They're not going to kill the indies, though.
No, they're not going to kill the indies. And if you were thinking they might, I'll tell you why they won't. AEW exists. There is a large enough group of people in any major city that would be running a decent indie that don't want to see WWE style wrestling. They want to see something else. You don't need the couple thousand AEW draws to run a good indie show. You need a couple hundred, and there will be plenty of people in any big enough city, and that doesn't even have to be big. Like even Wichita, we draw a couple hundred people at HCW every single month.
Yeah.
The market's going to be there. They announced their preferred schools. Of course, Booker's was down there, and good for them. I know most people down there wrestle with them a long time. It's going to be a good way for WWE to also bring in actual trained pro wrestlers and not just NIL athletes, which
yes,
I think for a company like that, you need both. But there's going to be plenty of talent and plenty of shows that aren't aligned in any way with the WWE ID. So do not worry, your indie wrestling is not going away.
It better not. Anyway, it's not. Because, there's a lot of fish in the sea, gentlemen. And I don't know if you knew this, but fish are a lot like relatives. After 2 days, they stink. Bobby was so good.
That's not a Bobby exclusive one there. Come on.
That's pretty good.
That's an old adage, but touche. NXT's been, and I heard that, Jesse, you've started to actually watching some NXT on our behalf.
I did, Gorilla. I caught their pay-per-view on Sunday afternoon. Not gonna keep that up for the entire bit right now. I did finally watch NXT for the first time since the classic black and gold era. I tuned into Halloween Havoc. The first match got me. Like the video package for Tony D'Angelo and Oba Femi. The video package was great. It seemed very old school pro wrestling. I thought the match was that kind of WWE hardcore, but not too crazy style match at its best. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but the body tells it like it is, Gorilla. I thought that match was what everybody said Punk and Drew at Hell in a Cell was.
Okay.
I got that they hated each other. I thought it kept a really good pace throughout. It didn't go too long, didn't have too much bullshit at the end. I really enjoyed that match. The rest of the pay-per-view had some high and low spots. I don't think it turned me into a regular NXT watcher, but they knocked it out of the park at the beginning, and it was also super rad to see Stephanie Vaquer and Julia teaming together.
Like the pairing of them together, Brain, has been. I mean, I was like, really, you're just gonna slap them together? But it's been fantastic. It makes a ton of sense, for both of them individually, because yes, those are both women who can run the division by themselves on the top, right? But they're also not native English speakers, neither one of them. So letting them both get a little acclimated to the U.S. pro wrestling way of things, and then they can do their own individual stuff, however you do that down the road. So I love the fact they're doing that. I love what they're doing with the women's again, this is the way it was back in the day when we had like Shayna and Io Shirai and Mia Yim and the four horsewomen. Talk about the NXT women's division. NXT is by far the best women's division, and they just keep adding to that roster. It's stupid. Saw a great meme on Twitter that said, "It's like Shawn Michaels and Triple H are sitting there looking at Roxanne like she's Thanos and just collecting gems to beat her. They keep adding all these the pieces they keep adding, and it's not a bad analogy, I will say.
I saw the match graphic for that 10-woman tag next week, and I saw someone tweet that I wholeheartedly agree with. That should be your women's War Games matches here. Put that on Survivor Series and War Games.
Absolutely.
Please, for all of us.
I mean, they followed up by adding Jordan Grace, who drops the title to Masha Slamovich. GG's Masha Slamovich. But, Jordan Grace is now seemingly officially in NXT and WWE now. Like, we all knew she was going to be anyway, right?
Well, she's not official. She's still on loan.
She's official.
She's still under contract.
Right. She's not official, but she dropped the Knockouts
They're
title.
doing the Joe Hendry thing.
Yeah.
He didn't appear. Liar. Knew he was.
Oh, it's coming, Heather. Don't you worry. It's coming. All right.
No, I'm really enjoying NXT right now, too, gentlemen. I mean, to your point, the women's division's arguably, actually, I don't even think it's arguable. It's the best women's division in all of wrestling. Period. Bar none. End of story. Like, you tell me they're worst, and I would say it's mid everywhere else, and that's including the top brands of NXT, of Raw and SmackDown. I wholeheartedly believe that they will run circles around any of those. Absolutely. Better than Stardom, and Stardom's got some super studs over there too. Like you can't mess with it. And honestly, like what they're doing with Trick Williams and Ethan Page right now, Jesus.
Oh,
like,
they're strapping more and more rockets to Trick Williams. It's insane.
I mean, he's got a catchphrase, unlike Orange Cassidy.
I could have done without the show ending with Bully Ray, though. That was certainly a choice.
Yeah, I hear you.
I didn't get it. I out of everything there, that was the one thing I didn't get. I'm like, you didn't need that. You could have done it with somebody else. Hell, you could have had Triple H come out, like somebody not Busted Open who talks shit on everything. That's not WWE.
Yeah, I know they're running the ECW arena in a couple of weeks or whatever, and they're doing the thing they normally do, where they I think they had RVD showed up last week. Like they're gonna throw some originals out there, but like for your big pay-per-view, it's just real weird for a Bully Ray run in to end it.
It'd be nice if they could get an Iron Sheik if that was even possible, but we all know that's an impossibility, but
so speaking of RVD, gentlemen, have you guys seen he released only wrestlers?
Yep.
What the hell is it? Has anybody actually gone to it?
No. I don't plan on it.
I'm afraid to because I'm just afraid.
Well, him and his wife and wife's friends have done some questionable things over the years anyway, morality-wise. So, yeah.
Hey, man, if RVD and his old lady want to make a few extra bucks boning on the internet, more power to them. I'm just not tuning in. That's not my flavor of entertainment.
Now RVD in like a hardcore match, I would I'll do that. Not
like
not
if I'm gonna watch RVD, I'm gonna watch him wrestle.
Yeah, hardcore match, not hardcore scene.
Sorry, I guess I got some straight. My beard's doing a little weird stuff. Anyway,
Gorilla.
Did you get a hairball over there, Monsoon?
Hey. Well, you know what? I mean, NXT has been great. We talked about some local wrestling, but I don't think that's enough. Not for this very special edition. I would like some knowledge. I would like somebody to share their body of knowledge with us, as a matter of fact. Jesse?
We just talked about RVD sharing his body.
A different share of body, please.
I'll tell you what. You want a body of knowledge. There's no greater body of knowledge than the truth, Monsoon.
Hold on a
tell it
second
how it
here.
is.
Hold on, Heather. What do you mean short end of the stick? Look at this gloriousness. This is creativity right here. Just saying.
Well, you're not as handsome as me or as smart as the brain. So what are you bringing to the table, Monsoon?
Oh, I have the ability to mute both your asses, so there's always that. But
Hey, that wasn't invented for like another 30 years. So if we're committed to our bits here.
We're committed to telling the truth. So here's what we're gonna do tonight. Heather asked for it in the chat. She wanted to hear the truth. I'll tell you the truth, Heather. I've seen government documents. Have you seen the documents? They try and hide them from us citizens. I was a governor and a Navy SEAL, and they still tried to hide the documents, but I found them. No, but seriously, I can't keep that going the whole time. My voice is already getting scratchy. But in the spirit of the former governor, actor, Navy SEAL, pro wrestler, commentator, and all around American hero, Jesse the Body Ventura, I want to hear y'all's favorite conspiracy theory.
Wrestling conspiracy or just conspiracy theory?
I'm like,
And just to be clear, you don't have to believe it's true. Just your favorite one.
You got it. You want me to go?
I mean, the classic is the fake moon landing, right? Moon landing was filmed in a studio in, southern Arizona or what, it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, if that was even true, so, but it's just like, why? Why would they be spending so much money for such an elaborate, hoax? And then the answer to that question is always something just real deep, Well, there's, alien lizards running this planet, and they do this and that. And there's an underground. It's just like, oh my god. So the fake moon landing is always the one that gets me.
That's a really good one. I like that one, and I actually thought about, because I've got one too. I'll throw it at the end. I thought about that one. I like ones where there's an explanation that keeps it a conspiracy, but is also reasonable. So like with the moon landing, I've heard a theory that they filmed a bunch of shit because they were trying to shoot live TV in space. And they're like, well, if there's a problem with that signal or footage or something, we're not going to waste this big PR stunt to like show it off. Let's get some shit on tape just in case.
Okay.
So excellent choice. The moon landing stuff's always fun.
Right?
That's a good one. Mine, Marty Jannetty's a coward. That's mine. And I'll tell you why. Did you see? He jumped through that glass window because he's a coward. Jumped through it. Wasn't kicked through it. Shawn Michaels is an innocent man.
One of the hosts of this typical podcast would love hearing you defend the honor of Shawn Michaels in any fashion. So that's actually very apropos, I've been told, for the time slot we are currently on, Brain.
Well, if you really want to go real conspiracy, I feel like this is the fact that it just recently came out that this conspiracy is now true, but it was still always my favorite about Roswell and aliens. Like, I'm one of those people who thinks, like, if you really think that small, that we are the only planet in this
we're the only ones who exist
universe that only has life, like, you are a little narrow-minded. Like, that's what my big brain does. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, the fact that we had aliens and now it's confirmed that, there's UFOs and things like that have happened, or whatever they're calling them now. I forgot what they're calling UFOs now. Because they're not only flying objects or whatever. But yeah, the aliens on Roswell that they landed is my number one. I'm not going to do anything about how 9/11 was a United States inside job. Any of that BS is literally, that's the one for me.
Okay, very good.
Brain, when that Roswell crash happened in 1947, Gorilla was in his prime.
He was.
Hey, I was a tag team champion. I know what it's like to get in there and mix it up with all these ruffians in a true combat of wills.
I do like we had Heather and Big Rob in the chat throwing out the birds aren't real and they're controlled by the CIA. That's a great conspiracy theory. And that's why I threw out the disclaimer of you don't have to believe it's true, because some of them are so ridiculous that they're just funny. That's up there. Heather mentioned Avril Lavigne being replaced as well. Same with Paul McCartney. The Paul McCartney getting replaced one's super fun too.
They have a Jamie Foxx being replaced too. Like, there's a whole bunch of these. Like, there's like
We didn't even talk about the Elvis is alive or Tupac is alive ones, you know?
Because he is alive. Tupac is alive. Come on now.
Tupac was a little weird, I will say. He got shot. He was in the hospital. He's doing fine. 24 hours later, he dead. It's a little sudden, but just saying.
But for me, my personal favorite will always be JFK. I remember plenty of coming back from wrestling shows, throwing on Coast to Coast AM for the long drive back, and hearing people come up and talk about their various JFK conspiracy theories. Kind of going back to the moon landing one, the reason why I love that one, though, is I once heard an explanation that made a ton of sense, where someone said they covered it up because Lee Harvey Oswald was working with the Russians and they wanted to avoid a nuclear war, which makes a lot of sense. To be like, let's just say it was a lone crazy guy, and let's not open that can of worms right now. But yeah, I figured it would be fun to go around the horn. Appreciate Big Rob and Heather chiming in chat, and yeah, do our boy Jesse the Body a service by talking about conspiracy theories. If you have never watched Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura, I don't know if it's streaming for free somewhere or you got to rent it, but it's hilarious. You got to check it out.
There's a few things in this life that are worth it, and that is definitely one of them.
There's the 9/11 episode. He's at like the big warehouse where they've got like the wreckage of the buildings and stuff, and he's banging on the back door like, "Let me in! What are you hiding in there?"
Oh, well, this has been Jesse Ventura's Body of Knowledge. Very excellent body of knowledge tonight, Jesse. Well, there was a wrestling show we could talk.
Gorilla.
There was a live wrestling show we should probably talk about, gentlemen.
Yeah, there definitely was. And you know what, gentlemen? Anybody who watches this or is just a hater, can we stop with the narrative that AEW doesn't know how to do storytelling? Because they were all about the storytelling tonight in multiple ways, weaving stories in and out of each other, and it made my heart happy. Hopefully it made your guys' heart happy too. The wrestling, I hate to say it, this is very 90s-esque WWE, WCW, late 90s, early 2000s, where it's more about the plot than the actual wrestling. And well, no, don't get me wrong. The wrestling was absolutely amazing, but I'm just saying, like, the show is more.
I'll give you that.
Storyline heavy, and the matches accented the storylines instead of just having some kick-ass matches, and then you sprinkled in some storyline. You know what I mean? Like they've traditionally done. Like this show, gentlemen, and I want to get before we even get into anything, your overall thoughts of how the entire show went.
You know, I was a little bit critical about last week's show, you know. I wasn't the big, you know, I was like, it's okay, it's fine, just a little bit. To me, it was like totally redeemed themselves this week. I thought this show was fantastic. I thought it had some good matches on it. One excellent match. But to your point, yes, like the setup and storylines, continuation of storylines, and the interweaving and the way that they're doing a lot of this stuff was fantastic. So I thought this was a very good episode of Dynamite. Not like the all-out banger, you know, which is our favorite, but I thought it was very good. I thought it was a lot better than last week's.
Yeah, after Wrestle Dream, I said it kind of felt like they were starting something big. Like it was starting to get good. Not that it hasn't been good. I've been enjoying AEW for a long time, but it sounded like, or it just felt like they were getting hot. And kind of to what Jamie was saying, I think they've started to find the perfect balance between story and also having really good wrestling. Because last week was great on the story. It was just lesser than what you normally get on the wrestling side of things. This week did not have that problem at all, but was still very story heavy. So yeah, I thought it was great.
I mean, we start out with a solid but yet awkward promo from Orange Cassidy, which is perfectly him. I thought that, like, that's the thing. Like, Orange Cassidy, 100% committed to his bit, always, right? I can appreciate that. Jesse, I know you can appreciate that. Even Gorilla is hanging strong right now. I'm pretty proud of him. You know, we all appreciate being committed to the bit. His promo was very super babyface, but committed to the bit on how his awkward delivery, his like laissez-faire actions, you know. But I thought the message was clear that he's obviously, I mean, it's already been confirmed. It's him and Mox at Full Gear. I don't see him taking the belt off of him, but I'm kind of hoping he does, just because of this war that they have. They have the BCC versus the world, essentially, or, you know, against AEW, you know, very NWO-esque, but not as ridiculous over the top. But I thought this was an excellent promo.
And it had a lot of that. You know, there's no hiding the overtures of the old NWO, right? You know, and I know Jesse's talked about that quite a bit in the past few weeks. And, you know, we're searching for who the, you know, because we're using that same terminology in today's day and age. Who's going to be their Sting? Who's going to be their Goldberg? So, by all accounts, Orange is one of your guys, right? And I think tonight he stepped up to the DDT plate and said, I am your DDP, right? He's taken that mantle. He's a company guy, but he's not the top guy, but he can be-ish, right? That's very much DDP, right? DDP is a top guy, company guy for WCW, but never the guy, right? He's never Sting. He was never Flair. He was never Goldberg, right? He was never the guy you put on the very top. He had a run with the title, sure, got it, cool, right? But he was not in the same kind of, you know, he was just a notch below them. And to me, that's where Orange fits. But the way he said, even though it wasn't a lot, the way he said, these young guys, they're not ready for this, right? You know? And to differentiate himself, he's not a young guy. He's a veteran. He really is. People don't realize that because maybe they only have known of him for the past 4 years. But he's a veteran, and he's stepping into that position, be it begrudgingly, but very well. And less is more with him. And I like the fact that he does that. He didn't have to come out there. He spent, 2 minutes on his promo? 2.5 minutes? That's all it needed to be. It was perfect. I really liked it. I really liked that.
Yeah. Great just continuation of the story with the BCC and all that. You felt like this is where it was going. We kind of talked about last week. Orange Cassidy and Mox at Full Gear was the obvious way to go. I still think Orange Cassidy loses this because it's much more interesting to do his character to finally stand up for something and then fail. Like, that's good character development. And this still seems like it's set up for it to eventually be Darby that takes the title, but they, not just this segment, throughout the night, we'll get to it, they did a lot with this story to keep it moving forward.
A lot.
A whole lot. A lot.
Like damn. That's all I gotta say. So I loved it. But anyway, so right after that, you had your first match of the night, and it's the returning Adam Cole, baby, going up against Buddy Matthews. And gentlemen, this is a storyline that I will have to say I am not interested in.
Okay. I'm not as interested as I would have been 2 years ago. But I think that Adam Cole, and he proved that he can still get out there. Maybe he's not as good as he used to be, right? It's also his first match in 2 years. So cut the band a little slack maybe. But I thought he did a decent enough job. I really liked the promo work he did after it a little bit later on. I think it's fine. It's a good filler for him when you're trying to evaluate, are you going to move him up to that top picture, right? On the mic, he deserves it. In the ring, we don't know. And it was okay. It was fine for me.
For me, this match was they had me in the first half. I saw the first half of this match and was just like, odd booking choice to have Buddy Matthews, who's getting just crazy cheers from the crowd, looking like he should be beating the crap out of Adam Cole.
Yeah.
And the first half of the match, Adam Cole did not quite look like Adam Cole. And then we got to the back half of the match, and I realized that was a choice, and that was a story they were telling.
Yeah.
I still don't know how I feel about Adam Cole running through the House of Black over the next few weeks, which seems like where we're heading with this.
Yeah.
But you start getting the back half. I didn't like I always hate the thing where the ref checks on the guy on the outside, tells the other guy to stay back. The crowd was literally counting Adam Cole out at this point. That's how hard they wanted Buddy Matthews to win. But once he came back in after Buddy's little promo mid-match and turned it on, he looked like Adam Cole again. And then I kind of got it like, okay, that's the story they're telling. Buddy's like, you got to be Adam Cole to beat me. And he accomplished it at the end. Now, at the end of the day, I just like Buddy Matthews more than Adam Cole. So, like, I would have rather seen Buddy Matthews just beat him. Hell,
sure.
I would rather see Buddy Matthews beat MJF at the pay-per-view. But for what they were doing, I thought this was a really good segment. And then the post-match theatrics.
Yeah, the blackout. He's shaking Buddy Matthews' hand, blackout, and the lights come back on, and he's holding Malachi's hands. Which, y'all remember back in like the peak NXT days, right? You know, both those guys were just on fire. So,
yeah.
And they've already set up a match for next week on that. So, boom, there you go.
So I feel like, hopefully, we all know what the third win's going to be, right?
Him versus Roddy.
Yeah, him and Roddy. That's the end game.
I don't think so. At least I'm not certain that that's what's going to happen. I could also see them both winning 3 matches and MJF making it a triple threat at the pay-per-view.
Oh, he would never do that. Well, actually, he might do that to himself to save.
To make them
Adam
fight each other.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Roddy wins 2 matches, and the third match is the two of them together the week before Full Gear.
Because I think if they're doing Malachi Black next week, it seems unlikely that it won't be Brody for the third match.
But, like, why would you, like, if you're going in order, like, Malachi is the last one.
Yeah. I think they're setting up Malachi, then they're going to do Roddy's got his 2 matches, and then it's 2-2. They're going to fight each other that Wednesday before Full Gear.
It's possible. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. It'd be weird to do back-to-back Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black and then like
yeah.
Not throw Brody King out there. I could also see maybe Adam Cole wins 3, Roddy wins 2, and then gets to the third one, Roddy lays down.
Give a quick shout out to our man Chase. We already talked about Fountain City a little bit earlier. So
yes, founder, Fountain City, and hopefully everybody's seen the poll. You have time to vote for your favorite costume so far. It's actually a pretty nice little tight race so far. So plenty of time. We're gonna leave this one up the entire time. We're not gonna change this one up, but please put that in there. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, if you are first-time listeners, make sure you hit that like and subscribe for us. It means a lot. And if you are dressing up tomorrow, please put in the comments what you're dressing up as. So either we can like applaud you, or in typical Bobby the Brain Heenan fashion or Jesse Ventura fashion, we will just ridicule you. And then you have probably a very
I will bail you out.
I
will bail you out with a lot of applaud at the end. Yes. All right.
All right, so let's just go ahead and move on. Anyway, like what I was saying, it didn't do much for me. Mainly just to put a nail in this. Like, I get that he's hurt, but like I felt like he was overselling the hurt, and then it just turned it on like it was gone. You know, it's like, come on, man. Like you kind of like.
I hate that in general. I hate that in general.
It just when he oversold it in my opinion. That was the
whenever
only
you have
thing
the doctor come out, the whole doctor thing is the only thing that gets me, right? But
yeah. Hey, Megan. Hey, your daddy. everybody, Gorilla's daddy's on here. Megan, my progeny is on here, and she is going as a minion for Halloween. I'm very excited about that.
Very
and I'll
fitting.
be passing
Very
out
fitting
candy
for
as
her.
Bobby the Brain Heenan to everybody this year. And Heather is going to be a plague doctor, and that's fucking rad.
You know, I've never seen like the Despicable Me's or the Minion movies, but they have got a ton of run out of those things.
Oh,
Dude,
bro.
so much run.
We even went to Minion Land at Universal, which, by the way, go to Universal Studios in Hollywood or in Florida. That shit's awesome. But anyway, like that was such a good time. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's just go ahead, move on. So we already talked about the after there, but I do want to talk about Christopher Daniels and the private party stuff going on. Because, gentlemen,
Let's do
I'm
that.
gonna be. We're just gonna jump right to it because I thought this was the end of Private Party tonight, and
I seem to think 2 people on this dais believed it was the end of Private Party tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
what a heel would do. And I'm a heel.
Oh, there's a button there I could press. Hey, what does that do? A little premature.
You didn't predict it. You just didn't agree with us. It's different.
No, I did too predict it. Watch the tape.
Wait. Post show, I looked on Twitter and was like, "Oh, they just confirmed Private Party the Bucks for next week." And then your exact words were, "I guess they're not dropping the titles then." Or
I said, "Well,
something
maybe I shouldn't have said they weren't going to drop the titles." I said, "Maybe I shouldn't have said." But my prediction was that they were going to drop the titles to them. But you have Daniels giving him like the insight there, because this is exactly what happened with him and Frankie Kazarian, right?
Yeah.
I like that part of it. It was missing one thing because Christopher Daniels was like, and y'all know the Elite they'll do anything to keep those titles. Bro, why don't you just at that point say, so I'm gonna ban the Elite from rings? Like you're in charge of Dynamite. Could you have thrown something out there instead of like, good luck, kids. Hope you don't break
Jesse,
up.
I've been informed by management, and they're in my ear here, that particular window on this podcast is meant to be a logic-free window. So I'm gonna need you to tone down this logic that you're bringing
Censored
to us.
again. This is why they wouldn't let me stay on MSNBC, and I had to go to Russia to do the news because I tell the truth.
Yes.
I was a governor. Did you know that? The independently elected governor of Minnesota, and they wouldn't let me tell the truth on the news.
Yes, Jesse, we know.
After this, we had our first dose of Iron Sheik heat of the night. Yes, Mr. Don Callis showed up, and he was getting booed out of the arena. I was so grateful. Thank you, Cleveland, for restoring my faith in crowds, because last week we thought the crowd was not very good. The crowd tonight was very good. You couldn't hear the boom from the music. Like, they were all over Don Callis and Mr. Kyle Fletcher, the new shaved head Kyle Fletcher. That's by choice, not because he is going bald.
Wesley Shorn, Kyle Fletcher.
Yes, like a scrotum. So, gentlemen, were you expecting to see a Mark Davis sighting?
I was not. I was expecting them just to do a little, what they started to do, a little pop on, Will Ospreay, he's not there. Oh, this and that. They talk shit and then they leave. I thought this was going to be a quick little gibber. But no, I was pleased to see Mark Davis. And where do you think that they're going to go with this, Jesse?
Well, first, I got to go with where they didn't go with this, which I got my hopes up for a split second and then was disappointed. The age-old wrestling trope that I haven't seen in forever, but is near and dear to my heart, where the heel calls out the face knowing he's not there, and then a midget dressed as the face comes out, like especially for Halloween. Could we have brought that back tonight? I would have loved that.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Instead, we get Mark Davis looking like he's been living in a trash can the entire time he's been injured. He looked a little disheveled.
He looked a little, yeah.
At least had like an All Elite shirt on or something, man.
Yeah, like.
I mean, I like a 3/4 zip, but
I'm not saying you got to put a suit on, but like just straighten up the t-shirt underneath the jacket or something, because he looks like he's been in a rough place since he got hurt.
Not everybody can look as good as me.
That is true. That is true. That is a fancy sequin jacket.
It is. It is. And sequined.
I mean,
I'm glittery.
So,
but yeah,
Kyle tells him
either
that
of y'all like excited about Mark Davis coming back?
I'm excited for the possibility of the future because, I think it's very apparent what our thoughts have been about what they're going to do with the Mark Davis angle. And Kyle says, it's great to see you. And then they disagree because, he turned his back on us. But Kyle says, it's okay. You always have a spot in the family, right? And they leave. So there's going to be a series of things with Mark Davis now over the next little bit. And eventually he's going to turn and join Kyle Fletcher.
So, gentlemen, there's one big tell. As a poker player and as a avid lifelong wrestling fan and successful manager of many champions, one big thing, gentlemen, he walked out the heel tunnel. Walked out the heel tunnel. Could easily turn it back around.
From both you gentlemen is that they are conspiring against Will Ospreay.
100%.
Because he tells the truth.
He does. That's my thinking. I think Mark Davis will, I foretold Mark Davis was going to be involved. He's going to be a part of the family. I think he's also going to turn. It just makes too much sense to me.
Makes a lot of sense, indeed.
Yeah, that's probably the move.
Okay, then we had Moxley responding. We're back to Mox. This is part 2 of 4?
Something,
2 or 3.
Who knows?
Something like that. So Moxley responds, comes out and says, well, you're not challenging me, I'm challenging you. It's that whole, oh, no, I didn't quit, or I didn't get fired, I quit. It's just kind of like one of those things. So he said he challenged him the last week when he broke his friend's neck, making him clearing him of distractions. Like he's a really, really bad dad who hurts the friends that are distractions and bad influences. And then they were getting ready to beat up on Wheeler.
I love that. Because Wheeler's always been tentatively agreeing with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And last week, they even had the Braves taken back because they're beating Chuck Taylor, right? So they're turning on Wheeler. Oh, no, they're not. They're using him as bait. I love that. Because that puts Wheeler in the ultimate position for the long-term story. Is he the person who's going to, be that linchpin that causes them to not succeed? Who knows, right? I dig it.
Yeah, it's more interesting than what I thought would happen, that Wheeler would just kind of become the other guy in the group, like he was previously a lot of the time. So I like that they're keeping that little dynamic in there. Yeah, like I said earlier, they just keep pushing this story along, and there's just interesting stuff going on. You're getting a lot of really good story woven in between some pretty badass wrestling.
And of course, that clears out the locker room.
Yeah, faces come out. And then the private party hits, and then you go right into the private party match, which will.
But it wasn't just out of the locker room, though. You had Darby Allin very abruptly come down from the rafters, all a Sting.
And then get the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, with the harness still attached, which I loved. It's
I did really enjoy that enough faces came out to send the BCC running.
You didn't enjoy that?
No, I did enjoy that.
Okay.
It'd been a little bit too much of them to show up, beat up everyone for a while. You can't make them look just unstoppable, and they don't look any less dangerous from getting run off by 12 dudes. The one thing I didn't like about this, though, is where was the conglomeration when Orange Cassidy was about to get his neck broken? They were in the building.
Yeah,
Well, he's doing everything all by himself now.
I feel like at the point the Dark Orders and everyone else is running out, like maybe he knows he's not doing it by himself. We should probably get out there and throw some hands for a friend. I'm just saying.
For the future of the company, because that's what he said. Like, he needs AEW. Moxley doesn't need AEW. Uh-oh. Gorilla's fading over there.
I just wanted to read that comment because I couldn't read it with this fucking thing on.
So, gentlemen, this goes right into my holiday extravaganza for Halloween. And Charles, let's hold on one second. We got a message from Charles here. Private Party's victory is mostly due to Mox working up everybody and truly give them a favor. I get what you're saying, Charles. I think Private Party, it was given because it's storytelling, because of everything that's going on with Mox. Plus, the crowd was hot on Private Party. They did a really good job of pumping them up, at least my opinion, gentlemen. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I thought it was very similar to like I said last week when the Acclaimed won, right? The crowd was really into it. The match was fantastic. By far match of the night. It was so good. But like I had said last week, if you remember, there we go. I believe that the Young Bucks are playing a much bigger role in the BCC story than we're wanting to give them the credit for, right? And them with the titles does not fit into that, okay? What they did later on in the show, I think, supports that. I think that maybe, is it a face turn per se? I believe so. But I think that regardless of whether it is or not, you get the belts off of them so they can play in this sandbox here with Mox and all them. Private Party winning the titles, in my opinion, has nothing to do with Mox at all. That's just flat out my opinion.
I think it does.
Other than the Young Bucks side of things.
I think it does, but not in the way you would expect. Kind of going with what Charles said in the chat. I think it'd be real interesting for the development of the story. So Private Party, they've been involved with the BCC stuff. They just won the tag titles.
Yep.
You got Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry at Full Gear. I think Daniel Garcia is winning the TNT title. What if we get to a point a month or two down the road where the BCC coming out and doing this week to week has had the desired effect of now Private Party are tag champs. Now Daniel Garcia is your TNT champ because they gave him that edge. They made him step up. And I wonder if, and we'll get to the Bucks stuff, but I wonder if you bring the Bucks back later and you have something where the BCC aren't really faces, but it's them and the Elite fighting for control of the company. And you don't really know which side to pick because neither one is truly a face. I think that'd be interesting.
Like maybe they were the invisible hand all along, not Don Callis, that was guiding all these young guys to finally get their titles. I like that.
Yeah.
Bobby, what do you think?
I mean, the show of respect at the end was a kind of a telling sign there for me.
Yeah.
The taking the belts away from them, then giving them to them, and like giving them props, like, hey, you guys earned it. And then the straight up just ducking out and getting the fuck out of town was like, okay. I like the storytelling there. It's like, so like I feel like there's gonna be a lot of shoes to drop just from that one little scene of them shredding papers and stuff like that. I think Private Party earned it. I think they were due. I think it makes a lot of sense there. But I think the Bucks have more to go, and I think a returning Kenny Omega here within the next few months is going to play a pivotal role in everything.
I mean, the Bucks did two of his moves in the middle of the match. That's not.
He's gonna be Hogan. He's gonna be Hogan in the NWO. Call it now.
Okay.
Kenny Omega is my hang up with the Bucks becoming faces out of this. because it happened around the time he's coming back, and I don't think you can just gloss over and go, well, we're all good guys and we're friends again, what they've done to Kenny Omega over the last year or so.
Well, if he comes back as, hey, we got Kenny coming back, and then he turns on him, joins up with Mox, then he's the asshole, and he gets to say, it's because all my friends did this stuff to me, blah, 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 and you flip it, and you make him the asshole, then the Bucks turn face. That's the only way you can do it.
I like that. I like that thought.
That's why I kind of like the idea of like this building up, because that doesn't mean it's the end of this whole thing. But I like the idea of this building up to BCC and the Elite, where neither one's really a face. And then you get Kenny coming back as his own guy, as that face. And you get Kenny starting to rally the other AEW talent around him to get rid of both of them.
Yeah. I like it. And then the Bucks wrestling at Wrestle Dynasty. I could see that happening because it's a co-sponsored event. I would love to see them going against Evil and Dick Togo. Personally, I think that would just be a wet dream, honestly, because they never cross paths in New Japan, which still like kind of dumbfounds me a little bit.
It's a little odd, but yeah, I get it.
Or one of the CMLL tag teams. I don't know them as well, just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just know New Japan.
Speaking of New Japan, we do want to give a quick word of support. Not just for New Japan, but in New Japan, I want to give a quick word of support. I don't know if you saw on the interwebs today, but El Phantasmo, ELP, he's got a little bout with cancer going on. You know, he said he's beginning treatment. He's looking good. So give some prayers and thoughts there. And also definitely for Chris Bay as well. Very scary injury he's had. Pro Wrestling Tees is selling shirts to benefit him and his family in support, for his recovery. It's not sponsored by them by any stretch, but we met Chris Bay. Brayden and myself have, and I don't know if if you've ever wrestled against him, Ventura?
I have not.
Okay.
I had the pleasure.
He is a total nice guy. Like one of the nicest dudes, Really cool guy.
Like a good brother.
Definitely show some support out there for both of them, especially Chris Bay. So, yes, just want to throw that out there. Back to our regular scheduled programming.
Yes. So, let's circle back to the entrance of one Darby Allin. Okay? and this goes right back into what I said we were going to talk about today for our Halloween special that we always do. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, that was such a great match, Chase. Like I have a picture with Chris Bay with all my daughters. It's good shit. He didn't even know it was supposed to be an outside show until he got there, by the way. Fun fact. So we were going to talk about our favorite Sting moments. I prepped you guys for this because I wanted you all to really think about some of your favorite Sting moments. And you know what? I would love to hear what Jesse the Body Ventura's favorite Sting moment is.
Well, I already told y'all about it last week. It was the time he came down and beat up Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan isn't a tough guy. I'm a tough guy. I was a Navy SEAL. Did you know that?
I did know that.
And then I was a governor.
Do you know for
I was in multiple movies with Arnold. How many movies with Arnold were you in, Bobby the Brain?
I set up all of his movies. I was the brains behind every single one of his movies.
Gentlemen, some decorum. We are trying to have a wrestling podcast here, please.
Well, anyway, about freaking Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking a shower is a high risk maneuver for that guy.
I actually looked up
that might be my favorite Sting moment of all time, but since I did just bring that up last week, this one is not an all-time great Sting moment, but it's one I thoroughly enjoy. It's when he wrestled Sid, and they had Sid pin the other guy dressed up as Sting, and did like a dusty finish with it, and then they restarted the match. It was like silly 93 WCW booking, but it'll always have a special place in my heart.
Yeah. So I looked up, I had 4 ones that stuck out in my head, and I actually went and looked up some dates. I did my full homework here, okay? So it ties in very well with tonight. You know, the one that I'm gonna talk about is the first that I could remember of, and there might have been an earlier example of this, but from what I understand, this is the first actual Sting drop down that happened. Okay, so Sting had been gone in 96. He came back and he was in the rafters, did a whole thing, and then at the uncensored pay-per-view, March 16th, 1997, he did what I believe, if I'm correct, is the first drop down, right? I definitely remember around that time because he's just been in the rafters, and all of a sudden, here he comes and cleans house, right? And then it became a constant thing. He'd show up from the rafters, or he'd walk down, or they had like the multiple Stings that came in. That was really cool. They had like the 35 different Stings from all over the place, and Sting had the Sting mask and took it off, and it was Sting, and he clears house. But this was the first time he dropped it down, and that was just like, at the time, it was like, holy shit, right? We never seen anything like that, right? We saw one approximation before that, and that was Shawn Michaels coming in on a zip line at WrestleMania. And here was his on just a regular ass, boom, drop down on the zip. Oh, it was so cool. It was so cool.
There was another one in 96. The Undertaker dropped down when he came back. I want to say it was the Survivor Series match where he came back in his all black gear and he had his like little bat wings and he descended from the rafters like Batman.
Oh, okay. I think I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think it was about 4 or 5 months before the Sting one. The Sting one was much cooler. Bat Undertaker was kind of weird.
Yeah. So that's one I'll bring it. One I'm going to give to you there, Bobby. What do you have?
I got two.
I got another one I want to get to as well, but yeah, go ahead.
So, one of the great things about Sting was he was very much a company man at WCW, right? And he would put over talent, right? One of my most favorite moments ever was the Shockmaster moment with him. Because he put over Shockmaster so much. Like,
wait, was that
much.
Hold on, was that still Crow Sting?
No.
You said we're doing Crow Sting.
Well, hold on. Transitioning. I got Crow. Don't worry, I got Crow Sting too.
Okay.
But I just want to throw this one out there because he was such a company man. He put this dude over. Dude botched it, and he continued to put him over. Like,
yeah.
Who? I mean, if that would have happened in WWF back in the day, freaking like The Rock and them would have ate his lunch right then and there.
True.
But my favorite Crow Sting,
that was the assignment. Was Crow Sting.
It's Devil's Night, right? And it is raining, but as we all know, can't rain all the time. Definitely the NWO Decision Time. That was one of my favorites of all time. Most iconic Sting moment. Comes out, has a white NWO shirt on, celebrating with Hogan, ends up just clotheslining Hogan. Scorpion death dropped. God, who was it? Buff,
Big
maybe?
Show. No, it was Giant. He power slammed Giant, and then Scorpion death dropped Macho.
Yeah. And then he rips it off. He tried to rip from the top, couldn't rip it from the top, so he ripped it from the bottom to get to the top. Excellent to show the Wolfpack red and black, and the rest is history. I'm wearing red and black tonight in honor of it because it is my favorite.
June 1st, 1998, Nitro. That's one of the ones I was going to say as well.
So iconic.
I like some of the, and I also remember some of the most random stuff. Remember the Sting Vulture?
Oh, yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
Because why not? And then like they did a blackout, and then it was just the Vulture on, and that was on August 21st, 1997. And it was just, the Vulture was on the thing, and it was like, first of all, hell of a trained Vulture. I don't know how you train a Vulture, but he was just on the rope there. No Sting appearance at all. Other than he was in the rafter with the Vulture. Blackout, the Vulture was on the ropes. And that's how the show ended. Okay.
Y'all remember the
mind
toy
games.
commercial where he beats up the little kid? I'm pretty sure it was a
Yes.
toy commercial. It might have been for like a pay-per-view or
Oh.
something. I think it was like for the Brawler Buddies or whatever.
It
And it's just him
was.
like beating a kid around the house for like 3 minutes.
Also remember, like they
That would
did
not hold up so well nowadays.
I also remember they did a. It's one of those outdoor. It was like one of the spring break shows, and he did the entrance. He did the drop down from an actual fuck ass helicopter.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, this thing was great. Anyway, back to your regular scheduled programming. Thank you for diving into that Halloween special extravaganza. Typically we do horror movies, but I thought since tonight is officially Devil's Night, it would be a good one to go over the Crow Sting.
I can't wait for Sting to show up and help Darby win the title.
It's gonna happen. I think that's speaking of. That's
It's gonna be so good.
It is. Anyway, so we already talked about how the Bucks lost and they gave it up to Private Party. That's an excellent moment there, gentlemen. Did any of you happen to see the promo Mariah May cut on Anna Jay? Talking about
on Collision.
Yeah, on Collision. Do you guys see that one? They talked about it.
I missed it.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Holy shit. Mariah May is legit in a league of her own.
She can talk.
Good.
Yeah, that promo she cut on Anna Jay on Collision. We randomly, because Ruby Reyes was in town visiting for my wife's birthday this weekend.
Oh yeah.
And Saturday we were at I wrestled at a tattoo convention here in town. So we had the convention, do stuff all day. So we got back at the house a little bit early, and happened to be right when Collision was coming on. So I actually caught Collision this week. And Mariah May's promo was one of the best women's division promos I've heard in a long time.
Good.
I mean, she opened it up with, Anna Jay, you're just a typical blonde with a fat ass or something like that. It's like, you can't wrestle and all this shit. I'm like, oh my God. Like, she just went straight for the jugular and did not even care.
I mean,
like,
if Anna Jay does nothing else but allow Mariah May to keep propping up her stock, she's doing her job.
I mean, Mariah is like, And when Tony comes back, I cannot wait. All right. So I just want to talk about that. We did have a little backstage moment with a cross between Velma and Daphne, and Penelope Cruz or Penelope Ford. Sorry. I mean, God love Jamie Hayter, but she is all about that 70s look right now.
I don't get it.
So they got a little heated between each other. They can't touch each other. It's good to see Penelope out there. Was not my favorite segment of the day, but I definitely want to call it out because, again, giving some spotlight to the women.
Something's better than nothing, especially what we just talked about earlier with NXT and stuff, At least you're giving them some TV time. Cool.
Yeah, I like the way they're kind of rotating stories in the women's division. Like they moved Mariah and Anna Jay over to Collision. We're getting Penelope and Jamie Hayter next week. We got Stat and Camille, which we'll get to. Like, I like that it seems like there's a bigger amount of things going on in the women's division without them necessarily giving them more TV time, which is an option they could absolutely do. I'm not saying
two
don't
matches,
need to do that, but
2 matches. They're doing it.
It's
this
a
Saturday,
good way to
they're
make the
doing 2
women's
matches.
division. Yeah, it's a good way to make the women's division feel bigger, kind of weaving the stories through Dynamite each week. I still don't know. I still feel like they're just squandering Jamie Hayter's return.
Give it time, man. Give it time.
We'll see. Hopefully not,
I don't think
but
so. I think it's very, very well done. They're trying to get her ramped up. That's my opinion.
Hey, she'll hold the title again at some point, but I don't think she's the mega star returning to the women's division we thought she would have been like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much deeper now. I think she's up there with the top, but the top of the women's division is so deep now that I think she's just
I believe that them not wanting to put her directly in the picture, they don't want her to compete with Tony and do all that. I think that plays into that. I think that contributes to that. So I'm willing to see where they go with this. I'm a big Hater fan, so I'm just waiting to see. Hopefully they can redeem it. I think they can eventually.
Gentlemen, I don't know if you knew this, but we are in the era of the Nueve.
I know a lot about Nueve. I live in Mexico now. I'm off the grid, so I can tell the truth without being censored.
Ibama.
I like me a nice quick learning tree promo. Get him in, get him out, move it on. Good.
Speaking of quick, Dodgers in 5. Yankees are dead.
You got it? All right.
Just got the message live.
Good.
Nice and quick. So, gentlemen, what do you think of the new ROH World Champions promo, the Nueve?
Well, like I told you, quick and easy. Good. Cool. I had no other thoughts.
Yeah. I like how you put over to Terrifier 3, though. He was in like the first 15 minutes of it and was dead.
I mean, Brian Keith and Big Bill are always good. They're always good in these segments, too. It just feels like we're still doing the learning tree and the conglomeration just to keep Chris Jericho on TV.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's the gimmick.
Yep.
Like, why is it still going on?
Because it's the gimmick.
Committed to the bit. Again, like I said, they didn't give it much time. I don't want to either. Because that was it. It was fine.
So, gentlemen, we did have that moment, like I kind of hinted at it. Daniel Garcia got all up in Jack Perry's face, like, oh, hey, this is going to be you and all this stuff. And then Jack Perry let out this little nuggets, like, they used to dance for me too. And I loved that little line from him, talking about how the fans used to love him and now they hate him.
Just a word to the beautiful transformation that happened to be Jack Perry.
Jungle Man.
Who saw that coming 3 years ago? But my God, I love it. I love all of this. That match is going to fuck, too. Let's be real.
Yeah, I thought this segment was, like, really good for both of them, character-wise.
Yeah.
You got that edge from Daniel Garcia that you need to see. Jungle Boy didn't try to seem like way too tough. He tried to be the smarmy heel. He got a comment in to kind of dig underneath at Daniel Garcia. Just quick 60 seconds of great character development for both guys.
They're doing a really good job of telling a lot in a short amount of time, right? They've really kind of found that way to do that. Whereas before, they have to do these big, long things and set stuff up. Here, you said 60 seconds, and we got so much good meat for both men, for both Perry and for Garcia. It's very good, very good. Kudos. Golf clap.
Speaking of golf clap, maybe I got thoughts, gentlemen. I'm not even gonna lie. I have thoughts. Chitara versus Camille. Sorry, Chris Statlander in her Chitara face paint, which hopefully everybody's got that, because I got it as soon as I saw it. I was like, oh, she did the Chitara face paint.
I thought she was going for a Spawn thing.
I thought she was doing like a vampire thing.
That's Chitara, dude. If you ever seen Chitara, that's how her makeup goes, or her thing goes.
Obviously not.
How you say it.
So anyway, so Chris Statlander versus Camille. Again, I felt like they missed here. I do. I feel like they missed so hard, but with the way that they did it, was a way I wasn't expecting, and I feel like it's too early for that too. Like, that's how I feel about this. I'll get into my opinions in a minute, but I want to hear your guys' first.
It's blatantly obvious, Brain, that despite your pontifications, again, it doesn't appear as though Camille is the she-soul, after all. The match was fine. The match was good. Okay. It's not the best women's match we've seen between them, either of these competitors, I would say. But it was fine. I don't know. I don't know where they're really... I don't know where you're going with Mercedes. What's the direction? Okay? That's my question.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're going with Mercedes, but I think this was absolutely the right thing to do with Camille. I said it
Okay.
last week. Camille isn't imposing enough to be the Diesel of the women's division. We just had Jade Cargill a year ago. Recent, and she's over on WWE. Like, Jade Cargill looked like the unstoppable monster. And it's kind of hard to follow that up with another unstoppable monster that just isn't as physically imposing as Jade Cargill, which who is? Maybe someone will talk about at the end of the show, but the list is short for sure. I I think just having Camille be some unstoppable monster is kind of lazy booking, and I don't think it does anything really for anybody. When you have a monster, you build them up to lose once, then they're kind of useless. I like Camille being Mercedes' muscle, but being beatable. But I think she's someone that it means something when you beat her. Statlander beating her clean makes Statlander look good. This isn't something where they're just jobbing Camille out right away and she's just gonna be losing all the time like she's Harley Cameron, who should never lose again if you've been keeping up with Collision. She's the best right now.
Dude. Yes.
I never thought I would say that. I agree with that statement, but I agree with that statement.
She's doing the Lord's work these days. But yeah, like I think Camille is someone that's hard to beat, but still beatable is much more interesting than slightly taller than the rest of your women lady beats everyone up.
I disagree, man. Like the idea. So here's the thing: Jade Cargill was by herself, and they made her the star. When Diesel came in, he was not the star; he was the muscle. Always on a leash, always on a leash. You know what they just did to Camille? They war daddied her. Think about it.
Nah.
Wardlow was the muscle for a particular person, and he lost like his fourth match to Cody Rhodes, and then after that, what do you do with them? You gotta keep building them up. I thought that they should have had Mercedes interfere in this match, so then Chris would have won, but not clean. You know, that type of thing. Instead, they're already doing the dissension between Camille and Mercedes, which I hate. I think that's way too early for that. I think you still need to do everything with Stat. Then you get into that maybe after the first of the year, you know, but you got to keep building Camille up. I felt like they could have done it to protect Camille and still make Chris look really good. I felt like they didn't do any of that. And I'm less interested in Stat going against Mercedes now because now I know it's for sure. Like, there's no seed of possibility.
There's no chance he's going to win. Yes, we know.
It's gone.
So, I think they did protect Camille. You know who Camille got pinned by? The only person to pin Jade Cargill in AEW. Like, Statlander is made. Statlander, nobody loses anything from losing to Statlander. I could see them starting to, like, this being more focused on building Statlander up. I don't think it's impossible that Statlander wins the TBS. I think, or I guess better way to articulate that. I think it's possible Statlander wins the TBS championship when they get there at full gear.
I wouldn't hate that, to be honest with you, because I think that Mercedes came in. We all talked about her at the beginning of her run, whatever, right? But they put the belt on her, whatever, okay. I like the idea of taking the belt off of her and seeing what we can do with that. Because then you have, like I said, a storyline with Camille potentially, right? But there's other threads to be had there. Does Mercedes deserve to be in the other side of this fence too, right? Instead of TBS, she should be mixed up with anybody else in the women's title picture. Who knows, right? I don't hate that idea.
And it can go even deeper than that. Chris Statlander is an AEW original, but very much fits into the young folks. Not that she's like super young, but kind of the AEW homegrown, for lack of better talent, needs to start stepping up. Statlander used to be really good friends with Orange Cassidy. She turned on him a little bit, but she's a good guy now. You don't have anyone for Marina Shafir in that whole angle of things.
Good
I
point.
could see them building up Statlander to be involved in that storyline.
I like that more than anything else. Not gonna lie.
I concur. I think that makes a lot of sense there. You know what? I don't concur with a hammer shot a foot over somebody's hand. You saw it too, right? Okay, like I'm not the only one who saw it. Like, here's the hand, and then here's the hammer hit. Like,
so that was not the first.
That was a
could've
rubber
shot
hammer
a different
anyway.
angle
Too.
of the night. Did
Yeah.
y'all see during Buddy Matthews and Adam Cole when Buddy Matthews did his running kick on the apron? They happened to be like camera directly into Adam Cole's chest and face instead of kind of being off to the side towards blocked a bit. And you just watch Buddy's foot just kind of slide right by without ever touching him.
Oh, they had a few, and then at the end, they had somebody who was on production definitely getting bled through the microphone. 90 seconds left, 30 seconds left. It's like,
You got the time cues, and you got MVP telling Lashley to pose up so he could cut the little promo and take him home.
yeah, there was a couple production mishaps, we'll say, but I don't know. To me, that definitely looked like a rubber hammer too, Jamie.
I mean, the fact that it was like this far off, like you should have done it from.
it was
You
nowhere
should have done it
close.
from Cesaro's, not Cesaro, but Claudio's back.
I like to
Angles.
think that Brandon Cutler is just such a coward that swinging a hammer anywhere near his hand, he would just mentally feel like it was broken.
Like Marty Jannetty jumping through the window.
Oh my God, I see we have a reoccurring theme here. So,
Coward. So we did that, gentlemen. Let's talk about the main event.
let's talk about it. Strickland versus Benjamin. Was it what you guys wanted to see in this match?
It was a taste. I feel like it was a taste.
I give the same answer. It was good, but not exactly what I wanted to see out of these two. But that's for a reason. Definitely, we know this.
I'd pay to see a better match. If you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll eventually get this on a pay-per-view at some time. I thought this was exactly what I expected and wanted to be for being a TV match. There's no real stakes on this match yet.
Nope.
So you can't go out there and do the 30-minute classic that you know these
True.
guys can have.
True.
But it was a phenomenal TV main event. And I thought it was a great showcase for Shelton Benjamin and AEW for anyone that might have it twisted and think he can't still go.
I'll give you that. I mean, the two paired really well together. They complement each other very nicely. So, yeah. I agree with all that. Then, of course, after the match, though, was the big thing.
Literally.
You get MVP pulls out his phone. Got to make a little phone call. And then blackout. Ominous music playing. Here comes the almighty Bobby Lashley. They better use the almighty. I don't care if WWE did it. But
It was the worst kept secret. We already knew he signed. We already knew he was coming. They said that
Yep.
tonight was probably going to be the night he shows up. Magically,
There it is.
tonight's the night. And of course, he clothesline Swerve. And now you have the Hurt Syndicate is back in business, which I loved. Loved that little
I
line.
did like that.
And yeah, so we have yet another storyline going on. And gentlemen, who's excited about this one?
You can't go wrong pushing Bobby Lashley. I'm just going to say that. Okay? So I'm with it.
Yeah, I think Swerve's a great first opponent for Lashley in AEW. Not that Lashley might not get like a squash here and there along the way, but I think Swerve's going to complement Lashley really well. I'm sure Lashley can still go. That guy does not age at all. And he did some pretty solid work in TNA. He did some decent stuff in the WWE run, but it was the WWE style, which is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like what they're doing. I really like that this distracts you, for lack of a better term, from Swerve and Hanger. Like, this is a good, let's get them moving in different directions, which we did get a promo from Hanger earlier in the night. That I
Right.
think we touched.
He's got
We
a
didn't
match
talk about
against
that.
Jay White
Yeah.
at Full Gear. Good. Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a fun development and yet another story AEW is telling right now.
Yeah. And we all know Bobby Lashley, man, like he makes his coffee nervous. For sure.
So I think that is, again, not the best kept secret. Doesn't need to be. We knew this was coming, but we got it finally. That's the good point. We got it. We can move forward now with the Hurt Syndicate. See where they go. See who, if anybody, they add. I don't want to see them add anybody right now. I'm not going to lie. We put out a bunch of names. We've been playing this game for a couple weeks. I don't want to see them add shit anybody.
They're adding at least one.
Not right now. Maybe in a little bit, but not right now.
I would say either at Full Gear or somewhere in the lead up, they're adding at least one. I think MVP handing out the cards every week, I don't think you do that and just not pay it off for quite some time.
All right, Jesse, give us a name. Who do you think?
See, I was thinking it was going to be one of the private parties, but in hindsight, with them being involved in the BCC angle, like, I understand giving them the input on the titles, and it surprised me. And I like when pro wrestling surprises me when I'm really not expecting something, but it's not something stupid. It's like, oh, cool, like didn't see that happening. If they're gonna add, I don't know, because yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Ricochet. And I think if you're not going to put the international title on him, which I don't think they're going to do, it's something for him to do that's not just singles guy going for a title.
And it doesn't have to be permanent. He can be on with him for 6 months, fall out, him versus Bobby, cool. But I like Ricochet in this spot.
I just think the way Ricochet's been talking since he got there, and he's been a much better promo than he historically was. Not great, but serviceable for sure.
For sure.
He's got a little bit of a heel edge to him. And it feels like it's just a way to come out. I think he ends up joining them.
Brian?
And we would get the Prince Puma because he was a heel. I think
after he doesn't win the international title from Takeshi at Full Gear, I think that's what turns him heel.
Okay. I could see Action Andretti and Leo Rush.
Leo Rush would be super meta weird.
That's what makes it so great.
I'm with you there on that, yeah.
The man of the hour.
Speaking of Leo Rush, I feel bad. Leo Rush is phenomenal in the ring, but when all the babyfaces were running out to fight off the Blackpool Combat Club, it looked like someone's child was in the ring.
he's like 4'10".
Well, and I mean, the sweats he was wearing, it kind of just looked like he was in pajamas.
He's just a little guy. Yeah, but
I don't say that to hate on Leo Rush. Phenomenal pro wrestler. Like, all the respect in the world for him. It just looked like there was a child in the ring.
He's short. Yeah.
I kind of wish he was still doing his Blackheart stuff that he's been doing on the indies, because that shit's fire.
That shit is fire.
But anyway, I think Leo Rush, Action Andretti, leave Top Flight, do that. I think that makes a lot of sense because you have some lower card guys to do some of the get the L's. You leave Shelton and Bobby to get W's. You send those guys to get all the L's.
You know what I wouldn't mind seeing? I would like to see MVP, now that you've got Lashley joined there, you've got Shelton, especially if you get like a Ricochet over here. I'd like to see him make some of those younger guys jump through hoops to try and join the Hurt Syndicate.
Ooh.
Like, immediately flips where it's like, oh no, y'all had your chance. I gave out the cards. Now you got to prove yourselves.
Yeah, with Bobby, I mean, that's a good angle to play. I like that. All right, boys. Well, anything else you want to get to on Dynamite this evening?
No. It was a good show. Lots of storytelling.
Good. Lots of good show, good storytelling. We're a few weeks out, so we're just a little bit under a month out from Full Gear. So they're starting to put the pieces together here. They announced, as you said, Bobby, they did announce the title match between Moxley and Orange Cassidy. We got Hanger versus Jay White. slowly putting these pieces together. So, well, last thing we want to get to tonight here is talk a little bit about some fantasy football. For those of you who don't know, Total Spotfest does have its own fantasy football league, and I didn't update the graphics on this one. Forgive me. So, this past week, boy, we got 2 members of this dais that are just coming back with a fury. I will say that.
4 straight. About to be 5.
3
Hey,
straight.
we'll see about that. We will see. I made a couple little tweaks to, so we'll see where we go with that. But indeed, and Jamie and look at these points scored. Look at this ridiculousness here. I will give you the credit where credit is due. You boys are scoring a lot of points at the right time. So, this past weekend, what week is it? I can't even see. I'm like, okay, there we go. There we go. This past weekend, Jamie beat the crap out of his daughter in fantasy football. Okay.
Yes, in fantasy football.
161 points, just pulling up the points there. You put a lot of points up early there, Jesse. I will say that. You most definitely got the win. Unfortunately, your wife did not so much. She's been slipping a little bit, I will say. That might have to rethink the whole Bears and Jets philosophy.
The Bears had a rough outing against the Commanders. Did y'all see the end of that game?
Dude, that was
crazy.
So well, the Bears scored. I go, well, I guess Commanders going to fall a notch, and then all of a sudden they're like, Commanders won. I go, wait, what? And of course, I got CeeDee Lamb'd here. Going in, I had 2 people left, including Najee Harris, who had a very solid night. I was like, oh, you just got CeeDee Lamb. I got 2-1. I just got no. I got smoked on that. So yes, that does mean that coming up this week, myself and Jesse the Body Ventura are going at each other for the lead in the Stash of Knowledge League. So we will see where that goes.
Gonna make it 5 in a row, and I hope me and Jamie keep winning throughout the rest of the season, because I started my win streak by beating him, so I'll always be 1 game better.
But I think it's so funny how both of us started out so cold, and then now we are just lava hot because we're good at what we do.
But these things come and these things go, so we shall see.
Not fantasy football.
We'll see about that.
The
good news is, like I said, everybody is in the playoffs, so that we got plenty of room to go. So,
and we got gimmick matches for the playoffs.
And just for the record, I still have the most points scored in the league.
For now,
by 8,
and you know that.
By 8, but yes, you do.
It's a record that will stand the test of time, like Canada's Strongest Man Dino Bravo's world bench press record. He was lifting 720 pounds, and I touched the bar, but I only used 2 pounds of pressure, so he still bench pressed 718 pounds. The greatest Jesse line of all time.
Well, that is a fantastic cue for us to kind of wrap up. We hope you guys enjoyed our Halloween Spectacular. As you can see, we put a good amount of effort in this year. I am losing circulation in my head because of the way this thing attaches, so I'm going to try and get out here as soon as we can. But my co-hosts have been, of course, Jesse, the Body Ventura, Bobby, the Brain Hean. I have been Gorilla Monsoon. Thanking you for joining us this evening on the Total Spotfest Wrestling Podcast. If this is your first time here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can follow us on them internets at Total Spotfest. And we will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I heard your regular hosts will be returning, those poor saps. So please show them the same respect you showed us. Drive home safely, folks. Thank you all for joining us. Bobby, please take us home.
First things first, the favorite costume was mine. That's right. 57% of the votes went to this beautiful costume.
How did I get third? I'm wearing a fucking gorilla mask. Gorilla Monsoon. Gorilla Monsoon. Come
I
on,
know.
people.
Happy Halloween. Have a safe Halloween, everybody. Happy Devil's Night. Hopefully everybody watches The Crow tonight or has watched The Crow today. So, in honor of that, if you're not down till Spotfest, I got 7 words for you.
Only reigns.
I say, I'm dead and I move.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
The truth is out there.